Well, a lot of folks worry that the federal government is trying to control more and more of our lives. Now Uncle Sam is pushing to exert more control over the internet. Is that something we really want? Jim Harper is Director of Information Studies for the Cato Institute. He's against more government regulation. And Josh Silver is the President and CEO of freepress.net. He supports new regulations. All right, gentlemen, thanks so much for standing by. Jim, let me start with you. So the Obama administration has just made, they're pushing to get more control over the internet. And, you know, this plays into some people's fears that the Obama administration is getting bigger by the day, and before he's done, he's going to have his hands in too many aspects of Americans' business. Is there a point?
Well, yeah, the Federal Communications Commission announced last week that it was going to attempt to regulate the internet under a set of rules that were devised for the old telephone system. The internet's thrived under the freedom that we have. Net neutrality, which is the buzzword for what we're talking about, that's a good engineering principle, but I think the last thing we want to do is give control of net neutrality, give control of the engineering of the internet to the lawyers and bureaucrats at the FCC. It's our national censor, after all. I think we want to keep our communications out of the hands of the federal government. You
know, Josh, why? Why does the FCC now need to get involved in anything having to do with the internet? They already control the television and they control the radio, and a lot of people are saying, why? Why push for the internet now? The internet was born sort of this free-thinking, unregulated mindset, so what does government have to do with it?
Well, the problem, Megan, all due respect, the lead-in's not right. Actually, net neutrality will have the opposite effect of what you're saying. Net neutrality is the law that's not to regulate the internet, to regulate the giant companies that provide it. Comcast, AT&T, Verizon. Net neutrality simply says those companies can't censor content.
Wait, but let me stop you, because nobody knows what net neutrality is. You already lost a lot of our viewers. I want to keep it to the point where they can understand. Basically, what has happened is a court came down and told the Obama administration, you can't get involved in regulating the internet, and now they've found a way to do it. I mean, do I misstate the case?
Yeah, you did misstate it. Here's how it worked. Under the Bush administration, the FCC made a decision that made it much harder for it to regulate the internet providers like Comcast and AT&T. The court then said, because of what the Bush administration did, now FCC, you don't have authority anymore. Now our FCC needs to simply make a move so that they can then keep the big companies from censoring content on the web. This is not about government takeover of the internet, and it never was.
Is that right, Jim? Because everything I've read about this says this is a push, this is the beginnings of a push by the Obama administration to control the internet to some extent, more so than they had in the past.
No.
Well, I guess Josh is from the glass half empty school where anything that's unregulated is not protected. In fact, we do have large companies that are internet service providers, but what we need to do to protect ourselves is be active consumers, for one, but also have more competition among internet service providers. It's not running to government as if we have a monopoly telephone system like we used to have. The kinds of regulations you had under that system that the FCC could implement include taxes, include things like unbundling. That's taking apart the internet and requiring internet service providers to resell their service to resellers who would then sell it to us. It's all quite confusing. I think the tax thing is important to focus on, though. So-called universal service taxes could be imposed on the internet if it gets into this regulatory regime that the FCC wants for it. So I think we're talking about a regulated internet versus the current unregulated internet, and what we prefer is the unregulated internet we've had so much success with today.
All right, I got to leave it at that because we had that breaking news on the British Prime Minister, but I thank you both for sticking around.